Guards, regulars of the Kenya Regiment, Asian Special Police, Lancashire Fusiliers, Devons, Buffs, King's African Rifles, and Askaris of all tribes are searching out and fighting terrorist gangs wherever they are found. Recently, women terrorists are known to have taken part in murders, as the hardcore of Mau Mau utilizes every means to exert its influence. Other members often disguise themselves as KAR soldiers as they move throughout the colony. To prevent Mau Mau forces from forming even larger and more effective groups in the reserves, armored cars mounting 2-pound cannon are deployed throughout the area. Other heavily armed patrols equipped with mortars and automatic weapons are constantly attacking terrorist hideouts. Heavy charges of dynamite are used to blast caves sheltering die-hard Mau Maus. But white settlers are seldom in the mood to offer amnesty to Mau Maus who want to surrender. When the governor proposed that Mau Maus wishing to give themselves up come out of the forests waving green branches over their heads, the white settlers protested with such vehemence that the proposal was withdrawn. Thus, isolated patrol actions are resulting in steadily increasing lists of Mau Mau killed. For now it seems that the battle must be fought to its bloody and bitter end. Meanwhile, pilots of the Kenya Police Reserve Air Wing are assigned sections of the prohibited zones to observe and report any suspicious gatherings of natives. They are also on the alert for a white sheet on the ground, the pre-arranged danger signal from settlers far out on the veldt. Information radioed by the Reserve Air Wing is immediately coordinated through forward ground patrol and armored car units who quickly dispatch men to a scene of trouble. On airports surrounding the Aberdare region, RAF units of Harvard airplanes, slow-flying aircraft with great maneuverability, are armed with fragmentation bombs and machine guns for bombing and strafing missions. Numbers of Mau Maus accounted for by the planes are painted on the fuselage as pilots prepare for another flight to flush out secret hideouts that cannot be seen from the ground. In the prohibited zones, they may attack without warning. Today, despite the bombings, the enforced military campaigns, the tightening up of all controls over the natives, and the consequent decrease in mass murders, many suspect that Mau Mau membership is still growing. But as battle lines are drawn, the immediate physical threat becomes more open and tangible. And out of this, many can see an end to the reign of Mau Mau violence and terror. To halt the spread of Mau Mau, the government has authorized cleansing or de-oathing ceremonies. Native witch doctors are asked by the government to obtain confessions and absolve those guilty of taking the Mau Mau oath. Thousands of Kikuyus who have taken the Mau Mau oath pay a fee of 50 cents, a sum as impressive to them as the Mau Mau initiation fee, to register and participate in a ceremony designed to appease the spirits invoked in the original oath. As witch doctors chant anti-Mau Mau oaths, faces are brushed with green branches dipped in a special brew. The blood and entrails of goats and cows are used in another mixture. Next, a magic rod is dipped into the brew, and as each native repeats the witch doctor's incantations, he touches the magic rod with his lips. Rituals like these, and the offer of church services for Christians and native ceremonies for the pagans, brings thousands of Kikuyus out into the open to admit having taken the Mau Mau oath. The value of the ceremonies is often questioned, but they do help to indicate the number of Kikuyus who have taken the oath and have been forced to work for the Mau Mau. For those Kikuyus considered to be likely candidates for the Mau Mau, internment camps have been established. The official camp directives state that their aim is the rehabilitation of internees by hard work and propaganda, by religious, education, and other means. Camp chaplains are instructed to effect a change of heart and mind in the internees by substituting a Christian code of behavior for Mau Mau paganism. Recorded lectures by loyal Kikuyu leaders, elementary education, and farm instruction are included in the programs as the authorities learn to fight fire with fire. But both white and black know that the flames of Mau Mau call for stronger preventive measures than military campaigns, ceremonial pledges of loyalty, or mild programs of brainwashing. For throughout a continent where on a quarter of the Earth's surface, some 175 million black people are ruled by 5 million whites, the black man's unrest smolders ominously. In Kenya, it is significant that of its 5 native tribes, only the Kikuyu has worked as the white man's servant, waiter, busboy, and janitor. And it is the Kikuyu whom the Christian missionaries have taught the white man's Bible, with its message of human equality in the eyes of God. For wherever the black man has learned of the white man's religion and has watched his high standard of living, he has been aroused to a new sense of his own poverty and inferior social status. If political rights are still vague ideas to uneducated Africans, the land is another matter. Every African understands and loves the land with an almost religious devotion. In Kenya, the 12,000 square miles of fertile and healthy highlands reserved for white farmers have long been a source of grievance to the rapidly increasing population of Kikuyus. But to the white settler, the Kikuyu's use of the land is appallingly wasteful. For centuries, the Kikuyu had no concept of the use of fertilizer or crop rotation or contour plowing. The natives farmed until the land wore out and then moved on to another spot. To remedy this, the government has set up model farms, launched extensive campaigns to teach better farming methods, and has sent agricultural experts into the reserves to teach modern practices of farming and stock breeding. Such learning the African needs and wants, as he wants to learn the white man's sciences of medicine and industrial technology. But the white settler needs the African too. For Kenya's transition from a pastoral to a cash economy has created a tremendous demand for African workers, of whom the Kikuyus are the best and most numerous. Throughout the White Highlands bordering the Kikuyu reserves, huge farms, each covering thousands of acres, grow sisal, the most important crop in Kenya's booming export trade. Used in the making of rope and paper, the growing and processing of sisal requires the extensive use of hand labor. Sisal leaves grow at the base of tall, flowering plants and must first be cut by hand. A machine removes the outer shell of the leaf and shreds the fiber. But native labor is needed to wash the fiber, to handle the tedious work of drying it, and to load and pack it. Again, with coffee, accounting for millions of dollars of Kenya's income, native labor is essential. And in a country lacking coal and oil for large-scale industrialization, these crops, plus secondary industries, must be expanded to raise the African standard of living to a level equal to the whites. Recently, efforts have been made by a small but influential group of moderates to meet the problem. Last year, out of an annual budget of $60 million, over 10 millions were set aside for a land development program in the native reserves. Another 3 millions were spent training 1,500 African teachers and building schools for the education of natives. Construction is underway on the new $500,000 technical college for students of all races from funds supplied by the Kenya government. Over $5 million a year are being spent on much-needed hospitals and medical services for natives. For social and economic progress can mean little to a people sapped by the diseases common to tribal Africans. But the native remembers that it was only 20 years ago that the British home government, over the objections of the white settlers, prohibited compulsory labor on white farms. Thus he insists that any workable solutions must include his right to reject a white man's social philosophy that regards him as a primitive savage. Thus the crisis facing the 30,000 white settlers in Kenya is but a part of the whole problem facing the white man in Africa. Will he insist on holding fast to the doctrine of white superiority and perhaps try, if he can, to relegate the natives to a pastoral economy in the reserves, as was done with the American Indian? Or will he continue to develop new, fresh approaches to political and social needs and try to cope with the awful problems of backwardness? Will he test new ways for black and white to work together in peace and in the fruitful use of Africa's wealth of resources? Today, a pall of fear, mistrust, and anger lies across the African continent like a mist at sundown. In Kenya, when the white settler sits down to dinner, he maintains his accustomed formalities, but with certain unusual trimmings. When a servant enters the room, a gun covers his every move. But the white settler knows there are guns pointing at him too. Invisible guns of a kind far more dangerous and explosive than his. Both sides hope that in time, the guns can be put aside. But it will have to be soon. Time is running out.
People that says, I want to build myself as a people. I want to build, to love, to respect, to create. That is the real Africa. The Africa we let loose in the continental direction. This Africa to come. In times of need, make a sacrifice and raise your hands towards the great mountain, Kirinyaga, and Mogai, the Lord of Nature, will come to your assistance. Thus Jomo Kenyatta advised all his countrymen. For your peace and serenity, hold on to the land facing Mount Kenya.
The land is the basic source of livelihood among our people. It is where people settle and build their homes. And at the same time, they call it their mother, that the land is the mother.
The land of Kenya is mother to many different peoples, growing crops and grazing cattle, open country without natural borders, difficult to unify or defend against invaders, its peoples already damaged by the slave trade when the first Europeans arrived. Guns against spears could only have one outcome, and soon the British annexed the entire territory. They saw the whole enterprise as part of their civilizing mission to Africa.
Then, in 1891, a new era dawned. On the strength of reports from explorers and missionaries, the British decided to build a railway from the coast westwards to Uganda. Its object, to abolish the slave trade by establishing British administration and to open up the country. Skilled technicians came from Britain, artisans from India, working together and steadily pushing the line westwards across the arid plains to the highlands. With the railway came the first settlers. To this new land, they brought their experience of agriculture in Britain, their capital, and their eagerness to work.
What type of settler is required in East Africa? With the exception of the wastrel and the degenerate, it must be said that all are welcome in Kenya. The capitalist is wanted, so is the skilled workman. Most desirable of all is the man with a small capital who will bring out his wife and make a home.
The present system of taxation, although a good revenue getter, is not sufficiently strong to have much effect on the labor question. And it is more than probable that many natives avoid paying taxes altogether. The following scale of wages may be of interest. For Swahili labor, 10 rupees a month. Kavirondos, 4 rupees. Kikuyus, 2 up to 4 rupees, with posho, depending on physique.
When the first white man came and actually said that Kenya would be a colony, and it was explained to them that it means that the British flag will actually be set not on the houses, but on the land. The people felt offended.
When the white men came and found that the Kikuyu land was very good, some of them, because they came in a great number, went to the Kikuyu and they took some parts of it as a white man's land. Although the Kikuyu are there, they didn't think much of them. They made them squatters, which meant that they had to work for the white men. And the Kikuyu, before the white men came, especially in my own district, Kiambu, land was very important in Kikuyu custom. That's how the land hunger came, because if the white men did not take their land, they would have had sufficient land to farm.
The Maasai were soon brought into line too. Their elders were called by His Majesty's Commissioner. In less than a week, a Maasai land agreement had been proposed, drafted, and signed as a legal document.
Being chiefs of the Maasai tribe, we have decided of our own free will to remove our people, flocks, and herds into definite reservations away from the railway line and any land that may be thrown open to European settlement. We undertake to vacate the whole of the Rift Valley to be used by the government for these purposes. We are quite satisfied with the foregoing arrangements, and we hereby bind ourselves and our successors, as well as our people, to observe them. Signed by Lenana, son of Mbatia, and 20 elders of the Maasai on August the 15th, 1904.
I can tell you, I'm sure the Maasais had no idea as to what agreement they were signing. I lived in Maasai country for many years. My father was a doctor in Maasai country for 15 years. And they certainly would not have understood, okay, they're giving up their lands. Goodness alone knows who actually drafted it and what they were told they were signing. I certainly do not believe that they would have agreed to give up their lands voluntarily or otherwise to anybody.
In 1920, they declared that Kenya was now a British colony, not a protectorate. Then people understood that with the colony means that the soil now belongs to the British. It belonged to the British Crown. In Kenya, it was an offense for an African to plant coffee, to plant tea, and to plant so many other crops which the European settlers were planting. And at the same time, your hen or your animal could not trespass into a European area. If it gets there, it is either killed or even you are taken and punished very severely. And these are areas where Africans used to live rather very freely, tilling the land rather freely and so on. So the grievances were several and many.
They were not allowed to grow coffee in the areas adjoining the European coffee plantations because of the stated fear of, a real fear indeed, of coffee berry disease, which, if they had not looked after their coffee plantations well, would have spread to and destroyed the European coffee plantations. They were allowed to plant coffee in 2 of the districts which were not adjacent to the European farms. When they did finally plant coffee as a cash crop, and this was the principal one which they were prevented from engaging in, they did it quite brilliantly. And their small holdings were as good as anything which could be seen, and indeed later the cooperative large holdings were as good as anything which could be seen on a European farm.
The idea was that if they did so, they would run their own farms, and the European settlers wanted them to be labor, cheap labor.